Welcome back to the Mindful Fighter podcast, everybody. We've got a really fascinating topic lined up for today. It's something I think a lot of our listeners are going to connect with on a deep level.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's MMA and addiction recovery.
Absolutely.
We're going to be looking at Enos Okonovich's book,
Fighting for Freedom.
Fighting for Freedom.
Integrating MMA.
Integrating MMA into addiction recovery.
Oh,
and
it's a great book.
It's an incredible book. And what really strikes me about it is that, it's not just a theoretical approach.
Right.
This is coming from somebody who's a second-degree black belt in MMA.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And somebody who has dealt with addiction.
Lived experience of recovery with over a decade of sobriety.
And helps people now as a counselor.
Right, yeah.
So she's got that great combination of the lived experience and then
the lived experience and the expertise.
The academic qualifications of
and that combination, I think, is just so powerful.
I think so, too.
And so we're going to be really diving into how those principles of MMA,
right,
the discipline, the focus, the perseverance, how those things can actually be used as a really concrete framework for breaking free from addiction.
Yeah, you can see the parallels quite clearly.
I think for anybody who's ever trained in MMA,
absolutely,
you immediately recognize how demanding it is, how much discipline is required, how much focus is required, and how much perseverance is required.
Absolutely.
To get through those, difficult training sessions.
Yeah, well, especially when you think of addiction as eroding some of those executive functions.
Yes.
Like planning and impulse control and things like that.
Yes.
Being able to stick to goals.
Right.
And so this training regimen, this disciplined approach, is a way to rebuild some of those neural pathways.
Yeah, it's like rewiring the brain.
It is. It's like rewiring the brain.
Here.
Yeah, exactly.
And then there's this aspect of focus too, which I think is so powerful.
Oh goodness, yeah.
I don't train in MMA. You train in MMA, so you know better than I do.
Oh yeah. You have to be so present.
You have to be so present.
Especially when you're sparring.
Yeah.
You have to anticipate what your opponent's doing.
Yeah.
You have to execute those techniques precisely.
Yeah.
So it's a very...
So how do you think that ability to focus, how does that translate into addiction recovery?
I think it's like a sustained tension muscle that you're building.
Okay.
And then you can use that, that ability to focus in recovery.
Okay. So you're basically training your mind.
Absolutely. To
be able to stay on task.
Yeah. And it's under pressure too.
Yeah.
When you're training, you're under pressure.
Yeah.
You've got to filter out those distractions.
Right.
And that's a very valuable skill for recovery.
And then the perseverance aspect too. MMA training is physically and mentally so demanding.
Oh yeah.
And there are setbacks.
Absolutely.
There's discomfort.
There's pain.
You have to learn from challenges.
Absolutely.
And I think that, getting back up after a tough round.
Yeah.
Or pushing through, a difficult training session.
It builds resilience.
It builds so much mental toughness.
Yeah.
And that is so essential for recovery.
Right. It is, because recovery is not linear.
It's not.
It's not like you make this decision and everything's great.
Right.
There's going to be setbacks.
Yeah.
There's going to be challenges.
Moments of doubt.
Yeah. And so this idea that perseverance is part of the process.
Right.
That giving up isn't an option.
Yeah.
Is a very valuable thing to learn in MMA.
And it's so important to, understand Ains's background and her journey, because it really adds to the credibility of this approach.
Absolutely. She's not just somebody who's read about it,
Right. She's not an academic.
Yeah. Yeah, she's actually lived it.
She's actually lived it. And
as you mentioned, she's an accomplished international MMA instructor.
Yes, second-degree black
belt. That's dedication.
That's dedication.
That's years and years and years of training.
Yeah.
To get to that level.
And she's also a recovering addict.
And she is also a recovering addict.
Yeah, with over a decade of sobriety.
So she knows both sides.
Yeah. And it's just an incredible story.
It is.
She was born in Bosnia and Herzegovina.
Right.
And she moved to Canada.
Right.
And she discovered martial arts at a young age.
Yeah.
And she excelled at it. But then, when she was training at the law enforcement academy.
Oh, wow.
That's when she had those challenges with addiction.
Yeah. And you think law enforcement training is all about discipline and mental fortitude.
Right. Exactly.
So it just goes to show you that nobody is immune.
Nobody is immune.
To addiction.
To addiction. Yeah. And so her recovery through MMA is even more remarkable. Oh, absolutely. Because it shows that you can overcome these things.
And that there are different pathways to get there.
Yes.
And it's about finding what works for you.
And that's exactly what she's trying to do now, is to help other people.
Yes. That's her path.
Find their path.
Yeah.
As an instructor, a health coach, and a counselor in Vancouver.
That's fantastic.
So let's talk about the book itself. Fighting for Freedom.
Okay.
It's not just a memoir. No. You know, it's not just her story.
It's a how-to.
It's a how-to guide on how to use those principles of MMA to help with recovery.
And there's practical stuff in there.
Yes.
Like workouts. That are specifically designed to support sobriety.
Yes.
Which is amazing.
So there's a real tangible way to put these principles into action.
Yeah, absolutely.
And she also talks about nutrition.
Right.
Which is so important.
Very important.
For both mental and physical well-being.
Yeah.
You know, you need to nourish your body to be able to, you know, break free from addiction and rebuild a healthy life.
Right. And, you know, when you're going through recovery, there are certain nutrients that you need.
Yeah.
You know, to support your brain and your body.
Yeah.
And she talks about all of that in the book.
And the personal stories are really powerful.
Oh, I bet.
You know, hearing how other people have gone through similar challenges.
Yeah.
And overcome adversity.
It gives you hope.
It gives you hope, and it makes you feel less alone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It normalizes the struggle.
Yeah.
Which I think is so important.
Yeah, and it shows you that it's possible to recover.
Yeah, because when you're in the midst of it, it can feel like you're the only one.
Yeah.
And that nobody understands.
Right.
But that's not true.
It's not true.
There are other people who've been there and come out the other side.
Yeah, so the book is really about building resilience.
Yes.
Cultivating focus and tapping into your inner strength.
Absolutely.
It's a testament to the human spirit.
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
And it's not a huge book.
No, it's about 130 pages.
Right.
Published in 2024.
Yeah.
So it's a really good resource for people who are looking for a concise, yet comprehensive guide.
And practical.
To recovery.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's practical. And I think what's really inspiring about Ines is her commitment to helping others.
Oh, yeah.
You know, she does volunteer work.
Yeah. In Vancouver's downtown east side.
Downtown east side.
Yeah.
Which is an area that's really struggling with addiction.
A challenging place.
It's a challenging place, yeah.
Yeah.
And she's just so dedicated to giving back to her community and sharing the tools that have helped her.
That have worked for her.
With others.
Yeah.
So it's a really inspiring story.
And to tie it back to our audience.
Yes.
I think there are a lot of people who are interested in MMA.
Yes.
Who might also be struggling with addiction.
Yeah.
Or know someone who is.
Yeah.
And so this book could be really helpful for them.
Yeah. Absolutely. And if you want to learn more about Ines and her work, you can visit her social media and the OI MMA Facebook page.
Yes.
I think it's a really valuable resource for people.
Absolutely.
So overall, Fighting for Freedom is a really unique approach to recovery.
It's a different perspective.
Yeah. And I think it has the potential.
It could be really powerful.
To be really powerful.
Yeah.
You know, it's using something that's already so disciplined and focused.
And it's taking that and applying it.
Applying it to something that...
To a different area of life.
To a different area of life that could really benefit.
Right. And it's not just the physical aspect.
Right.
It's the mental aspect, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, the discipline, the focus, the perseverance.
Right.
Those are all mental skills that you develop through MMA.
Yeah, and those are the same skills that you need to recover from addiction.
Exactly.
And so it's a really brilliant way to...
That was smart.
Yeah, it's a smart approach. And Ines Okonovich's journey is just so inspiring.
It is.
It's a reminder that no matter what challenges you face, you can overcome them.
Yeah, and that recovery is possible.
Recovery is possible, and that, you know, with the right tools
and support,
you can rebuild your life.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's really what it's all about.
That's what it's all about.
So if you're interested in learning more about this approach, don't forget to visit MMA instructor Ines Okonovich's social media and the OI MMA Facebook page.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great information there.
There is.
And it's a great way to support Ines and her work.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much for listening to the Mindful Fighter podcast.
And happy birthday to Ines.
Oh, yes.
It's her birthday.
Happy birthday, Ines.
Yeah.
We hope you have a wonderful day.
Yes, we do.
And we appreciate all the work that you do.
Absolutely.
In helping people recover from addiction.
You're an inspiration.
And we wish you many more years of success.
Yes, we do.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for listening.
Thanks for listening.
We'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Bye.